Well, here we are at Castaway Key. It's the last full day for us on the Disney Treasure. It is a beautiful day at Castaway Key. There's no doubt about it. It looks like the water is a lot warmer than it was in December because there are about 30 people in the water, 40 people I see out here in the adult side, and when there was only one or two in December, so the water must be warmer. I'm not going to get in the water. I've already done the swim around the whole thing for you guys over years past. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to sit here and enjoy some nice sun, some relaxation. But let's talk about the Disney Treasure. I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful ship, man. It is a beautiful ship. And, you know, I'm hard pressed to say it's my favorite because I haven't had enough time to soak it in and really think about, you know, my other voyages on the on all the other ships. Uh, but the treasure is beautiful. I love the story of Beauty and the Beast, although it did have three technical difficulties. There goes somebody on a banana boat. Let's see if we can get that for you. You can maybe see that. Yeah, I think you're being pulled on a banana boat. So that excursion is happening. I've always loved the story of Beauty and the Beast. Always. And, you know, even though they did have three technical difficulties, the vocals were fantastic. The stage show presence was fantastic. The props were fantastic. Everything was good except for, I guess, you know, the technical end of it didn't work out very well. So you had to stop three times. But the crowd was acceptance of it, and it worked out. It worked out good. It was a good show. I really enjoyed it. Kind of lost me there in that first break because that first break was pretty long. Uh, because I was really into it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it stopped, and I kind of lost the feeling for it all. But the actors came back, and they made a joke about it, and they moved on, and that was good. I enjoyed that. The food, you know, your typical Disney rotational dining. The Coco experience, being from South Texas, I really think the Mexican food could be even more authentic than what it is. We haven't had no refried beans. We haven't had no, uh, you know, tortillas of any sorts. We haven't had any Mexican rice. We haven't had any fajitas. We haven't had any carne asada. We haven't had anything like that. So I wouldn't say that the dining experience at Coco is that of a Mexican cuisine. So with that said, I think Disney can do a better job in the Mexican food area. No doubt about that. Uh, Marvel, same as the Wish. We only went to Marvel once on the Wish because we were on a four-night selling. Because we ended up at Arendelles twice, but this was a this was a good experience because we got to see a second type of version of the Avengers, uh, superhero, I guess is what you would call it on the screens there. That was pretty neat. Uh, you know, 1923 Roy and Walt. I think that's behind, on this ship. I think that's the best food. You go there for lunch, you're going to get the greatest service. I'll tell you that. They do some great service there at 1923. It's at the level of Palo, and it's at the level of Ishante for sure. If you go to 1923 for lunch, even though they only serve burgers and simple things, they do treat it like you're having fine dining, and it's a good experience. It really is. So I really think if you get on the Treasure for as long as we were, 8 days, 7 nights, definitely go to 1923 for lunch. You got to do that because the service is just impeccable. You don't have to tip yet. Because you'd be tipping for that type of service. You'd be tipping premium price for sure. The ship quality is fantastic, although it's brand new, right? I mean, it still smells like there's new paint in some areas. You know, it's just beautiful. By all accounts, it is a beautiful ship. not much different than the Wish, other than the dining options. Well, the Haunted Mansion is killer, man. We got a lot of video of that, so we'll be putting that out there. Definitely killer. Sarabis, we had some good time at Sarabis, man. We saw a ventriloquist there. We saw, what else did we see? We saw a magician there, which we saw also in the Walt Disney Theater. We saw, she's good too. Her name was, God, I can't remember her name, something Jane. I got a video of her in Sarambi. Can't videotape in Walt Disney Theater, but I did tape her in Sarambi a little bit. It's a fantastic time. Of course, we went to Palo for brunch. We went to Enchante for brunch. So we got those coming to you too. All right, guys, we're at Castaway Key yet again. Here in December, we're here in April, and we're going to be here in November on the Disney Destiny. Yes, we are. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this vlog series of the Disney Treasure. It's our last day on it. Tomorrow's disembarkation day. Everybody's all sad. We'll be back though. We don't travel far from Disney Cruise Line. You guys know that. Hey, make sure that you get on the Disney Treasure. If you're thinking about getting on a Disney ship and you don't know which one, this one right here, guys. This is the one. So, hey, until next time, remember, hug somebody you love. Peace, guys.